Moses was in the wilderness for 40 years. The Israelites were in the wilderness for 40 years. Jesus was in the wilderness for 40 days and 40 nights. You might be feeling that you are in the wilderness right now. You might be thinking, God, where are you? God, this isn't how I thought things would turn out. God, why am I going through this divorce? I want to restore the marriage, but he doesn't. God, how come I feel like my body is failing me? I can't get pregnant and I have a desire to have children. God, this is a hard season.
Hey mama! If you're looking to have a deeper relationship with Jesus and searching for a community of Christian moms, I'm so glad you are here. I'm a Christian wife and mom who is passionate about helping mamas finally let go of the mom guilt and learn to live loved. I want to help mamas see that they are truly and perfectly loved, especially in motherhood. Welcome back to the Live Loved Mom podcast. I'm Sindy, your host. I'm a wife, mom, and lover of Jesus. Let's dig into God's Word together and get encouraged while we're on this journey of motherhood. Let's learn some parenting tips and mom hacks and learn how to raise our kids God's way. So, grab your coffee, listen on your drive to work, or maybe put that forgotten load of laundry back to wash again. Let's tackle mom guilt together and learn to live loved.
I'm sure you and everyone else have gone through some seasons of wilderness. The wilderness to me, I think just means like maybe it's a season in your life where things are like really tough, or maybe it's a season of waiting. You know, the Lord is going to come through, but you're like, when is it going to happen, Or maybe things just didn't turn out the way that you thought they were going to. For me, when I think about a season of wilderness, I think about the waiting period before getting pregnant and having my son. For us, it took us a while before we could have our son. We were married 10 years, but honestly, the first couple of years, we were not trying at all. I was finishing nursing school. I was, it was still trying to figure out my life, basically. Even though we got married young, we got married at 21. But when we were ready to start trying and having children, I just remember those moments of like month after month, getting my period and being like, I thought this would be the month, And then I think it's also disheartening when you go to the gynecologist or you go to the doctors and they're like, nope, everything is fine. You should be able to get pregnant with no problem, But for us, it took a while. And that to me was a season of waiting, a season of discouragement, of hurt, of confusion, and I guess also maybe expectation, because I think in my mind, I probably had the expectation that as soon as we start that, I'll be able to get pregnant and I'll be able to have children. That was not the case. And that was kind of a difficult season for me, for us. But I truly think that, God's timing is so perfect. And I want to talk today about what to do, or maybe some truths that we can hold on to when we are going through those kind of seasons where we feel lost, confused, where we feel like, God, I really thought it was going to turn out this way, but it's turning out a totally different way. Or it's just a hard season of, financial struggles, or maybe having deaths in the family. I don't know, whatever it is that you're going through or that you've gone through. I'm sure that we've all had seasons where it's been rough. And if you haven't, support those that are going through it. And you probably will eventually, I think the wilderness is a period of waiting, a period of molding and preparation. In the wilderness, I feel like either it comes from, our own doing, our own actions, or the actions of others. But also, I think sometimes it's actually the Lord like bringing us through the wilderness, right? Because looking at the Bible and the story of, let's say Moses brought himself to the wilderness, right? But the Israelites, the Lord brought them through the wilderness when it could have been like a straight shot. But they were in the wilderness for 40 years. And that was the Lord that brought them through the wilderness for several reasons, in my opinion. I think it's, a season for them to really learn to trust him and obey him. Because how many times, after they've seen all those miracles that happen, from them being freed from Egypt, going through the Red Sea, like being delivered from slavery, all of those things, the blood over the door, all of those things, right? But they still were struggling with trusting God and really relying and leaning on him. So I think sometimes the Lord allows us to go through the wilderness, even in Jesus's case, right? I'm going to go to, I think it's in Matthew 4. So even in Jesus's case, in Matthew 4, this is verse 1. It says, "Then Jesus was led up by the Spirit into the wilderness to be tempted by the devil." Then Jesus was led up by the Spirit. Like the Lord led him through the wilderness to be tempted. So sometimes it's the Lord allowing us to go through those things or bringing us through those things. So that's why I think the wilderness is like a season of waiting, a season of us being molded and shaped, a season of preparation. The Lord is preparing us for where he's about to take us, where he wants us to go next. And as hard as those seasons can be, there's hope, there is light, there is joy again. I think the enemy wants us to believe that, this is a season that will last forever. But the truth is that joy comes in the morning, like it doesn't last forever. It is just a season. And not saying that it can't seem long, because it can go on for years, and not saying that it's not going to be trying, that it's not going to be painful, that it's not going to hurt while you're in the wilderness, But I think as we go through those moments, through those seasons, through those trials, there are some truths that we can hold on to that can help us while we are in those seasons. So I want us to consider and explore that a little bit today. In the wilderness, you can know that God is still God and that he is still in control. I think that's one of the things that is fundamental as believers, is to realize that even though the world around us is chaotic, even though in our own life everything just seems upside down, the one thing that's always constant is the Lord. The one thing that we can know for sure is that he is still in control. He is still on the throne. He is still the King of Kings. He is still the Lord of Lords. He is still all powerful. And he will not allow anything to happen that he will not redeem eventually, So he is still in control. He can still use those hurts. He can still use those circumstances. He can still use those trials. He can still use where you are right now. He could still use it. So one is to know that God is in control. And two is God is still your Abba Father, and he still wants the best for you. Even though our own actions, the actions of other people, may lead us to periods of trial, may bring us to the wilderness, right? To a time of where we just feel so desperate and so lost and so confused. God is still our Father, and he still wants the best for us. He's still going to provide for us. If we think about the Israelites when they were in the wilderness, the Lord still provided food for them. He still provided water for them. He took care of the Israelites while they were going through the wilderness. Not saying that they were eating like, whatever they wanted, because at one point they were like, no, send us back to Egypt because we want to eat, whatever food we are getting in Egypt. But it's like, but are you fed? Like, you are being sustained while you are going through the wilderness. It might not be exactly what you want, but it is for your best, because God wants the best for you. Is to know that, God is our Father, and He still wants the best for us, even when we're going through those difficult times. Another truth that we can hold on to is that God is with us in the wilderness. He will never leave us or forsake us. God is with you in the wilderness. He will never leave you nor forsake you. Man, so many times as I go through difficult times, difficult periods, I'm like, God, where are you? I don't feel you. I don't feel you. And the truth is that the Bible tells us that He will never leave us or forsake us. For some reason, I think when we are going through those trials, the enemy wants to isolate us. The enemy wants us to think that, we're the only ones going through it. Nobody's with us. Nobody can relate. Nobody can understand. And the truth of the matter is that God is always with you. And another truth that we can hold on to is that you have a God who can sympathize with you and intercede on your behalf. We have a God. The Almighty God decided to turn Himself from a creator to a creation so that He can walk in our shoes and show us the way. So He can relate. He was betrayed. He felt all of the feelings that we feel. He was hungry. He went through all of the things that we go through. So He can sympathize with us and He can intercede on our behalf. The wilderness might look like right now it's just desperate. It might look like there's no hope. But truly, even in the wilderness, we can have hope. Even in the wilderness, we can choose to be joyful. Not saying that you're happy that you're going through the trial, but just knowing that even this trial, the Lord is about to redeem. Whenever I go through like hard, difficult situations or seasons, I always try to remind myself of James 1:2-4, where it says to consider it pure joy, my brothers and sisters, when you face trials of many kind. And this actually was addressing the disciples that were going through like being persecuted, possibly killed for spreading the gospel. And James is saying, consider it pure joy, my brothers and sisters, whenever you face trials of many kinds, because you know that the testing of your faith produces perseverance. Let perseverance finish its work so that you may be mature and complete, not lacking anything. Even these trials and these times that we're going through that just seems like, God, like this is so unfair. God, this is so hard. God, like I don't feel you. I don't know what's going on. I'm confused. I'm lost. God can still use those circumstances. God can still use those situations. God is still with you in those moments. He has not left. He's always been there. He is close to you as you go through the trials. I remember doing a Bible study once. Oh my gosh, that was such a long time ago. I think that was even before I was married. And it's going to be like 20 years this year that we've been married. But I remember going through this Bible study. Actually, maybe it was after I was married. Maybe we were just like newlyweds. Okay, regardless. I remember going through this Bible study. I think it was like a Lisa Turkish Bible study. And I remember so clearly just this vivid image of God being like the gardener and how He prunes us. And she said, when we're going through the trials, I might be butchering it. Like, don't quote me. It's not word for word. I'm just kind of paraphrasing what she said. And I think she said, when we go through those moments of trials and tribulations, we feel like the Lord is not near, right? Because we're being pressed, we're being crushed. And like the gardener that God is, and those moments when the gardener is pruning the tree and we feel like we're really hurting and going through it, this is where the Lord is like pruning and shaping us. And in order for God to prune and shape, just like a gardener prunes and shapes the plants and the trees, they have to get really close to the plant. So God is near you when you're going through those trials. He is near you because He is right there with you, molding and shaping you to be more and more like Him, molding and shaping you so that you can have perseverance, so that you can have hope and wisdom and, whatever else you might need as you mature and get sanctified, right? So it produces faith and perseverance when we are going through those trials. These are some of the truths that we can hold on to, is that, He is still a good Father, even when life doesn't seem good in the moment. Is that, as we face the trials and the tribulations, that He is still molding us and shaping us to be more and more like Him. And also that our God is a redemptive Father. I think about the story of Peter and Jesus, that Peter was such a close friend to Jesus, yet he betrayed Jesus, but then to see like the beautiful picture of it coming back around, him by the fire and Jesus asking Peter, do you love me? I feel like the Lord just redeems those situations that we go through, that He uses it for His glory and for our good. And our good might not look like we think it's going to look like. It might not look like the outcome that we hope for. It might look totally different, and it might look different from the last time that He redeemed something, but we can trust that He has our best interest in mind, and we can trust that even through the trials, that God is still good, that God is still our Father, that God is still in control, that God is near us, that He has not forsaken us, that we have a God that understands us, that literally walk this earth. So He knows what we're going through. He experienced what we went through as we go through them. He is a God that not only turns things around, but gives us more than we can think, ask, or imagine. As we go through the hard seasons, we can trust that God is still God, that He is faithful, that He is our provider and our comforter, and that He is faithful, and that He still loves us. He is still with us. Currently, in my own personal Bible study, I'm reading the book of Acts. Just something that really stood out to me. I just wanted to share that with you. So I'm going to read in chapter 8. So this is Acts chapter 8. And it says, and Saul approved of his execution. And there arose on that day a great persecution against the church in Jerusalem. And they were all scattered throughout the regions of Judea and Samaria, except the apostles. Devout men buried Stephen and made great lamentations over him. But Saul was ravaging the church and entering house after house. He dragged off men and women and committed them to prison. So we're just reading that passage. I was like, man, the believers were being persecuted. Men and women being dragged out of their houses. I'm thinking they might have been scared, confused, not sure what to do or where to go next. Kind of like the way that we might be feeling if we're in a wilderness right now. And in verse 4, it says, now those who were scattered went about preaching the word. God uses all circumstances, even the not so pleasant ones, for His glory.
Thank you for listening to today's episode. I pray that it has blessed you in some way. If you found value in this episode, or you know a mama who could use some encouragement, please be sure to share the episode with them. Would you take just a few minutes to leave a review on Apple Podcasts? It would mean a great deal to me if you could let me know what you thought of the episode. Be sure to follow us at Live Love Mom Podcast on Instagram. And if you haven't already, come join us in our free Live Love Mom community on Facebook. Let's mom alongside each other and continue to learn to live love.